Dear friends of Pilentum Television, in this video I would like to introduce the DJI OSMO Pocket Camera, a camera for making breathtaking video recordings in the field of model railroading or railway modeling. I guess there are many reports and reviews about this camera on the internet, but in this video I would like to show a few possibilities how this camera can be used to film model trains. As you can see, the OSMO Pocket has a 3-axis stabilized gimbal that ensures your video footage is smooth and appears professional even when you are operating without the help of a tripod. Furthermore, this tiny handheld camera uses a 2.3-inch sensor and shoots video in 4K with 60 frames per second. Most video cameras on the market use the same image sensor, but are much more expensive and they cannot shoot videos in ultra high definition. Let's have a look at the closest focusing distance of the camera lens. It is also known as the minimum focus distance. In this scene, the camera is placed on a freight car and it is pulled by a locomotive. The distance between the camera lens and the other freight train is about 6 centimeters. The focus is concentrated on the right half of the image. I want to point out two things. On the one hand, what is absolutely fascinating, the camera head is only 1 centimeter above the tracks, and that is an amazing camera position. I have never been able to shoot such video recordings before. On the other hand, you can see that you have to keep a minimum distance between the model trains and the camera lens when filming. I guess I do not need to mention that the whole video footage is perfectly stabilized. We have now changed the track. We see the same scene, but the distance between the camera lens and the freight train is only 3 centimeters. So here it becomes very clear that we have fallen below the minimum focus distance limit, because the autofocus of the OSMO Pocket can no longer work correctly. However, think about the possibilities you have when filming, for example, your model railway layout. You can set the camera so extremely close to model trains in HO scale and even in N scale. This scene fascinated me very much. Of course, the light is not perfect, but the camera is now installed below the steam locomotive, only a few millimeters above the railroad tracks. It is a real worm's eye view. Most people shoot model railroad layouts from a bird's eye view, but this is unnatural in relation to the scale. Now we can capture trains from the worm's eye view. Let's have a look to the next scene. I love this camera angel. It is a cab ride. The camera is installed in front of the steam locomotive. You can see that the locomotive is not correctly illuminated. I should have used additional video lights. But do you see how brilliant the video quality is even in low light situations? Of course, this is not a perfect movie. These video recordings were only taken with the usual room lighting. I only used the neon lighting of the room, no additional light. But the image quality is already very good. Soon we will see in the video that even with these camera settings we have to keep in mind the minimum focus distance. The autofocus can no longer work correctly if the locomotive is too close. This is now the view of the train driver, a real cab ride. I would like to demonstrate that we can also control the focus of the Osmo Pocket manually. In this scene, the focus is not set to the background, but to the railroad tracks, about 5 centimeters away from the camera lens. However, the most important fact of this scene is that the video image is absolutely stabilized. Especially when driving over the railroad switch, the camera does not wobble at all. In this scene, we discover a special feature of the camera stabilization, which becomes especially visible in curves. The camera head constantly tries to stabilize the video image. In a curve, however, the camera head follows its own course. Following the railway tracks or tracking is done with a delay. You can set this delay in the camera's menu, but this scene was filmed with the default settings of the camera head. In this scene I play with a function called active tracking. Before recording, you can mark an area in the video image that should be followed by the camera. To mark an area is realized by tapping on the camera display or on the application running on your smartphone or tablet. While active tracking, the camera head tries to center this video area exactly, no matter how we move the camera. The Osmo Pocket will track the subject automatically. But the most important function is the stabilized camera head. In this scene, I increase the speed of the model train and slow down again. As you can see, the image does not wobble. The next 4 scenes are normal camera movements. Film professionals realize these movements by using a camera car or a so-called dolly. Normally, a camera dolly is a wheeled cart used in filmmaking to create smooth horizontal camera movements. Here, the camera is mounted to a freight car and pushed by a locomotive. In this scene, you can rediscover the strange behavior of the camera head in curves. On the model railway layout, this is a turning curve or a turning cycle. The video image recorded by the Osmo Pocket is very irritating. But as already mentioned, you can adjust this delay of the camera head in the menu settings. But I have to admit that the manual of the Osmo Pocket is badly written. You just have to do tests and you just have to play with that camera to understand its great functions. In the next scene, I installed the Osmo Pocket at a railroad crossing. If you pay attention to the camera position, you can understand that I could never have installed a big television camera or a photo camera such as the Panasonic Lumix GH5 at this position on the model railroad layout. The small size of the Osmo Pocket is a big advantage. While watching these scenes, you can also discover that you have to put a lot of effort in focusing. In automatic mode, the Osmo Pocket works well, but the camera only generates very good video footage if you operate the focus manually. Please note the key message of my words. In contrast to other action cameras, the Osmo Pocket has an autofocus. And that is what makes this camera so attractive. I can control the focus like a real cameraman. I can adjust the sharpness of the image and I can set the focus point. At the end of this video, we will make a camera movement through this beautiful miniature world. As you surely noticed, it is a German model railway layout. It is a modular layout consisting of several modules. Finally, I would be happy if you like this little video review. I have to admit that the OSMO Pocket Camera offers many other possibilities. I bought the camera only 3 weeks ago. Therefore, I still have to play and learn myself how to use this great handheld camera. If you want to do me a favor, please visit my website. On Pilentum.de or on PilentumTelevision.com, I have written down the most important features of the OSMO Pocket. I also have linked international online shops so that you can buy the camera.